Join him as he and his guests discover how businesses thrive in California.
Well, welcome to Pilgrim on the 405. We have a great conversation today with a very experienced grocer, digital marketer, Curt Avallone. He's the Chief Business Officer for Takeoff Technologies. Welcome, Curt.
Thank you for having me.
So, Curt, tell me, one of the things that we discovered here in our house was we had to be quarantined for 2 weeks. And that's the first time that we ordered groceries to have them delivered. And we've fallen in love with that. So every Friday night, we get on to grocery store website and order our groceries for the next week. The next morning, 9 o'clock, it's there, all bagged up. Probably a better job than if I had gone shopping. Plus, they don't bring anything extra that caught our eye in the grocery store. So that was a great experience. Is that what you guys are trying to do?
We are. In California, we're partnered with Albertsons and Safeway right now. Mm-hmm. We have 2 facilities for them. They're called microfullfillment centers. They're about 10,000 square feet, but they can shop an average 50-item online grocery order, which is pretty standard in California, about 50 items in an order, in about 6 minutes. And that's a big change from shopping that order on the sales floor, where it might take 60 to 80 minutes for the same order. And as you know, on the sales floor, you deal with out of stocks because it's an uncontrolled environment. So most orders picked on the sales floor can have 6 to 8% out of stocks, where in a controlled facility, the orders are generally 100% correct.
Now, when you say Safeway in California, does that include pavilions?
We don't have any in or attached to a pavilion yet, but we have quite a few more facilities being built for Albertsons and Safeways as we speak.
Oh my goodness! So this is Amazon-like.
Yes, I mean, I think we all know Amazon has led the way, in the use of robotics. Our solution, is designed to be attached to a supermarket. It creates jobs for the existing associates and allows grocers to shop the orders faster so they can shop for more customers. If you've been dealing in the pandemic, there are probably days where you couldn't get an order, that the slots were all full. But with the automation, we're able to support more customers. And the online grocery business, to your point, for a lot of grocers increased over 100% as a result of the pandemic, where people were concerned about their safety.
Now, is this different from Instacart?
Yes. So the Instacart model uses shopping on the sales floor, and generally the people doing that get charged or paid based on a per feed basis. The individual items that they pick. Our employees are Safeway, Albertsons employees, in that California market, union employees. So we're, growing the business, and we generally pay a better rate, because it's associated with the core business of Albertsons and Safeway.
Yeah, it did seem to me like there was a time, and maybe I'm seeing them from time to time, that grocery stores have their own delivery service that's tied to that particular store. Now, that's a different model from you, right?
A little bit. We do what's called hub and spoke. So from a single facility attached to a store, let's say in San Francisco, we have another one in San Jose. That facility can support 10 sister stores. So we will shop the orders, and then every hour to 2 hours, shuttle them to the sister store, either for a customer to pick up or for the delivery vans associated with that store to take it the last couple of miles to a customer's home. So we call it hub and spoke.
Wow. That's different from Amazon, where you go straight from the logistics center to the home.
Yeah, it gives us the option of, I'll call it customized assortment, because not all stores are the same. So while we shop the vast majority of the order at, the micro fulfillment center, if we go to a unique store, it might to your case, it's a pavilion that has a different assortment from a regular Safeway. That assortment, which might be 5 or 10% different, we can pick up an item there, whether it's a special party tray or flowers. So we call it top off. We top off at the spokes.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, how long you've been doing this for a while?
Yeah, Takeoff, we've been around 4 years. We're kind of the leader with, 16 units operational now across the globe. We're not just in the United States with, another 20 under construction as we speak and quite a few more under contract. But I've been doing, brick and click for about 20 years now. And it's, I'd like to tell the story, as a store manager, I always had, I think, good relationships, with my customers and lots of smiles. But I got my first hug after a decade in the business when I actually delivered the groceries to a mom with her 2 sick children. And she actually, it was emotional for her and for me, right? Because usually if you're a store manager, somebody's yelling at you because the coupon isn't scanning right. It's rare that you are, embraced and loved. But home delivery, creates a new relationship for people.
So what about price differential for the consumer?
Yeah, so when you use something like a micro-fulfillment center, you're able to charge, the same price as the stores because we have, reduced the overall cost. A lot of companies, if they're doing it as a service, increase the price to the customer or even, significant, delivery fees. Our goal is to, create a network of micro-fulfillment centers for partners like Albertsons, Safeway, so they can offer, lowest cost to the customers while at the same time, same day, quick delivery. We're also a very big believer that the micro-fulfillment centers will allow players like Albertsons and Safeway to have cross-channel partnerships, which means that the orders that we shop in a micro-fulfillment center could be at a Starbucks for you to pick up. Maybe if you pick it up there, you get a free coffee because we don't have the delivery cost. But we believe there will be a network and a redefinition of convenience for the consumer that for the first time can be cheaper potentially and certainly more convenient.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, that's right off of the iPhone apps. Do this and you get something at a less price or maybe even free. That's amazing.
Well, the reason we believe, it will be a big part of the future and position us better for tougher times next time around if we're dealing with, a situation where safety is paramount is, 30 years ago when I got in the business, about 80% of what people ate came from supermarkets. Mom cooked, whether it was meal planning, family sat down together most nights. But today, share of stomach for the grocers has gone from 80% to 40%. And the quick service restaurant industry has taken most of it. It hasn't been Amazon or Walmart. And now with digital, you can recombine that share of stomach on behalf of the customer. So the Grubhub, person who's delivering your meal, we could have automated lockers at, whatever your favorite, restaurant is. And the Grubhub driver or the Uber Eats driver can pick up both the hot food and the Albertsons or Safeway groceries and bring them to you. Now, the hugest benefit to that, what's exciting from a consumer point of view is that today, most deliveries have a fee associated. But in the future, if you have, the QSRs and the supermarket chains cooperating versus fighting, you can put 2 orders in a car, maybe it costs you $6 an order for a driver to deliver those. And if you're splitting it between Safeway and Panera Bread, let's say, then they're each only paying $3, which means the possibility for them to do it for free when a customer orders both together is significantly higher.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. So, I believe that our family is going to be using right now Instacart to bring us groceries for the foreseeable future. Is this a change that's going to stick around?
I think so. I mean, we've seen, the online, consumer penetration go into double digits. It used to be 3 to 5%. A lot of people are very happy with their experience, and they've been doing it for decades. So it took a major catalyst like the pandemic to, have a large majority of the customers use the service. When you reach that tipping point, not only does the grocery industry realize they have to invest, but companies like Instacart, that were ahead of the curve, are able to meet customer demand on a very rapid level.
So here's a question for you. You're in Boston, and I was reading in the Boston Globe this morning that there's a concern over the enormous logistics problems that I think there's like 12 huge Amazon logistics buildings around Boston, and they're planning 14 more within 495. And the concern for the residents is traffic, sound from the continuous 16-wheelers that are coming in. Tell me about, you must be aware of those kinds of concerns when you're talking about building warehouses for grocery aggregation.
Yeah. Little micro-fulfillment's dramatically different from the big Amazon warehouses. So, our facilities, being 10,000 square feet, think of the average home as, 3,000 square feet, and the average supermarket of 60 to 70,000. Mm-hmm. And most grocers are realizing they only need about 50,000, that, their customer feedback has been the stores have gotten a little too large. As they're doing their remodels, and most grocers remodel about 10% of their stores every year. So over the course of a decade, they've refreshed their stores. So that allows us to start attaching micro-fulfillment centers to a store. And those micro-fulfillment centers only have, 3 to 4 16-foot trucks.
So you're talking about having they're physically located at the store.
Right. Most of our facilities are attached. So what they're really doing is either picking so that a customer can pick the order up quickly at that store, or they're shipping to one of the sister stores. The chains that are successful might only have 4 or 5 of the stores that are all within 30 minutes drive, let's say, get an order every hour or two from the micro-fulfillment center. But it's designed not to be disruptive, not to create a huge amount of traffic issues, and to simply enhance the experience so that customers aren't dealing with out of stocks, because the last customer came by and, swept the Yoplait strawberry yogurt off the shelf because it was on sale. And also so that the orders can be shopped much faster so that customer demand can be met versus always in the past, having to order far in advance to be sure that you got, your groceries tonight because there were only so many shoppers on the sales floor. Mm-hmm. And the other issue that micro-fulfillment solves is as the market starts to tip towards digital, primarily because we all live off our smartphones, you get too many shoppers in the aisles, and you end up annoying, the shoppers that are, your regular customers because your own, shopping concierges are actually taking the last yogurt off the shelf, before the brick and mortar customer can get it. Mm-hmm. So less of a change in logistics pattern and new facilities, and more of an enhancement of existing facilities. I look at it almost like when, grocers, I'm going to age myself, started putting in pharmacies, mm-hmm. and started adding, health and beauty, to stores versus just offering, groceries. And this is just that next evolution.
Well, now, my question is, groceries tend to have like a 2% margin, right? Is that still true?
Yeah, it's a very tough business. That's correct.
All right. Now, so with the digitalization of shopping, does that increase their margin, or is it just what they have to pay to play?
Yeah. Most of the grocers have been losing hundreds of millions of dollars chasing this market. shopping on their sales floor, adding cost, to the consumer and either raising prices or having fees. This is, giving them the right tools. It's kind of like if you, want to get from point A to point B, in 15 minutes, right? You need a car. If you use a bicycle, or a horse, you might not get there in the same time. So we're giving them a more efficient, method to meet the demand that customers have, and doing it in such a fashion that they can match or even beat the prices that they're offering the customer today.
Well, is this an encroachment, just further encroachment on the mom and pop grocery stores, the smaller village grocery stores? I mean, that seems to be one of the controversies around Amazon is, I don't go to the local pharmacy or the local hardware store because I can get it on Amazon the next day.
Yep.
And so is that going to have the similar kind of impact on smaller grocery stores, village stores?
It could, but it shouldn't, because our facilities are about $3 million. So a traditional grocery store, even if you're a mom and pop, especially in California, boy, 10, 15, $20 million to build. So if you remodel and you're a mom and pop, you only have one store. You put a micro fulfillment center in, you all of a sudden have the opportunity to place your automated lockers at a dozen locations that you could never service before, right? Oh. So it's really a matter of whether, they believe that they need to keep up with their customer behavior, of more convenience, and how they differentiate themselves using the micro fulfillment center, or the combination of a micro fulfillment center and the hot food they might offer. It is really up to those individuals, to decide, how they want to move forward. Now, the advantage for some of the smaller chains is, if we, stay with the quick service restaurant scenario, the majority of the quick service restaurants are franchisees who often prefer, to partner with the other local businessman running that, local grocery store than try and do a deal with a much larger grocery chain, right? Where they don't have the same kind of leverage or relationship. So the micro fulfillment allows both large chains to enter and both the smaller chains to thrive, as long as they're responsive to their customers. That's kind of the key.
So then let's talk about business for takeoff. How are you as a company? How are you finding new business for new grocery stores to put in stock? Because this is really an installation of a micro center.
Yes, we are a service organization, so we install and stay with our grocery partners, helping them optimize the facility, as well as there's a lot of innovation coming to make the experience even better for both the retailer and the customer. But we're I go 4 years ago, we had an idea and we named it micro fulfillment centers. Today, across the globe, the term micro fulfillment center is widespread, and people are calling us. And they're calling us because enough of the major grocers, as well as some of the smaller family-owned units, have moved forward with us. And, that time differential of 6 minutes versus, an hour is so significant that for the first time, the industry's starting to see a path forward where they can make a profit, doing this, rather than having significant losses, just to keep their best customers from going to somebody else.
So in part, this what you are bringing to a grocery store is a physical space. It's also a system. It's also a way of thinking about it. It's really a change in what the traditional grocery store provided.
Right, and it's organized around temperature zones, as you can imagine, to maintain the quality of the product. We help with the assortment because we, put about 15,000 items into an average micro fulfillment center. But we help our partners select the right 15,000 that generally represents 95 to 97% of what they're selling. But then at the same time, we provide the software for this top off feature. If somebody wants, one of the items that doesn't sell a lot, but is, still that favorite hot sauce, on the sales floor, we batch, and get those items. And then we also, have the process to tie into the production rooms, the sliced deli and cheese, special cuts of steaks and things. So it's an orchestration, that would be very expensive for individual chains or even, mom and pops to build themselves, that tries to take into account, all of the variables that have been obstacles, to being profitable and at the same time picking an order perfectly, in a very small period of time.
Now, would you also help them with the online purchasing software?
Yes, we do. Have our own website that we provide for those that really need it. Most of the big chains have their own, and that's not a feature that they buy from us. But to your earlier point, the smaller, grocers, who might not even be online yet, we help them, by providing the website as part of the service and all the associated logistics, for the delivery process, anything that they would basically need.
I'm always interested, at what's coming at us from Seattle, from Amazon. They when they bought Whole Foods and had, you can buy Amazon Fresh, and my goodness, how they can deliver things, grocery items that you can order. And now there's a whole brick and mortar fresh that I see coming up. A lot of innovation there. What kinds of, you mentioned the word innovation, what kind of things can we expect in the future to see grocery stores doing in addition to these micro fulfillment centers?
Yeah, I think a lot of it will be adding restaurants to the front end. So if you look at, some of the things Amazon has pioneered, like Amazon Go, right? And I think, not only are we going to see a tipping point on e-grocery, we're going to see a tipping point on self-checkout, which means that the checkout areas, in my opinion, will be converted into restaurant operations. So if you think about, the consumer experience today, for every dollar she or he spends in a supermarket, they spend another dollar on food from the QSR chain. And the industry has always put their
QSR,
quick service restaurants, McDonald's, Panera, et cetera. And because grocers tried to put their restaurant operations inside the shopping, right? You had another stop, like stopping at the deli. And those restaurants were never tied into smartphones for ordering, right? So, we give you a shopping cart with wheels. We're not telling you to stop at 3 places. You don't really appreciate waiting in another line in addition to checkout. But if you are, the grocer of the future, you're going to say, my checkouts are, customers are going to do it themselves, whether it's on their phone or through a self-checkout that a lot of us are using. And that will free up space at the front end for grocers to go, I don't have to give up that dollar anymore. I could partner with 4 or 5 of the best regional chains and reinvent my front end, so that not only can she shop her groceries and pick up some hot food on the way home. And by the way, the day that she shops is not the day that she cooks. She just did her chore. So that's why, a lot of the quick service restaurants like to have their out parcels right next to a grocery store, right? For the convenience. But in addition to, the brick and mortar experience being enhanced, those micro fulfillment centers can pick up that same pizza or sub, right, from the front end and deliver them together. So, I think one of the big innovations will be this, share of stomach, all enabled by smartphone behavior that exists today, but grocers reinventing their food service model. And I think that will also lead to innovation in drug as well as C-store. So the micro fulfillment centers that we have cannot just supply B2C orders. They can do B2B. We have a program we call Super Drug. So you can take a micro fulfillment center and send, the top 2,000 items, which represent 60% of what we sell, into a Walgreens or a CVS. Kroger and Walgreens are doing this. And you almost have a little Trader Joe's, Kroger Express inside these Walgreens, so that the entire drugstore industry will reinvent not only its business model, but its customer experience. When you think about having a mini Trader Joe's, inside, every Walgreens that wants to have it. And not only would we drop off the B2C orders for a customer to pick up, or for that crowdsourced driver to get those groceries, as well as the pharmacy script, and deliver it to a house, but that customer will be able to go in and get what's for dinner. In the C-store channel, it's the same thing. The weakness has been assortment, right? And the lack of perishables, produce and steaks. But now micro fulfillment centers can make any C-store or any drugstore into, a mini express grocery chain, because we can deliver 4 pies at a time versus a carton of 24 pies.
Mm. All right. So a question for you now. My wife is very sensitive to job security. And so when she sees self-checkout in a grocery store, she always avoids that because, well, I don't want to jeopardize where some of our good friends have been working for years as checkout people in grocery stores. Talk about job displacement in this ongoing technological innovation.
Right. So if you think about, we'll start with kind of e-grocery. So in e-grocery, we are actually taking the activity that your wife is doing and creating jobs. So, unlike, some scenarios where you're right, there is elimination of labor, we're saying that, the customer is no longer shopping themselves, and we're going to pay people to do that. So e-grocery generates a huge number of jobs, and is potentially, one of those where you have less conflict between technology disruption and, human labor pool. In the self-checkout scenario, there are other tasks for jobs to be created, whether that is the restaurants that, are positioned, associated with the self-checkout. And a lot of it just has to do with the choices that, owners and employees make together. There's no reason that those restaurants at self-checkout couldn't be mini franchises, whether it's a Dunkin' or a Subway, that could be made available, so that not only does it create more jobs, people are their own bosses, which is, being a grocer and starting as a stocker in the business, you know what it's like to have a boss, trying to motivate you. But I think, there are always trade-offs whenever there is, technology generally involved. And it's really just a matter of the industries involved to act responsibly.
Well, I think that's the key. That's when I look back on a lot of the dissatisfaction and dysfunctionality right now in the country. I look back on globalization and our trade agreements, especially things like NAFTA. It wasn't that they were bad. To me, it was that the industry did not act responsibly with regard to the people who were displaced.
Yeah, I think you see that. I mean, you and I know I started with a family business, HEB. It's still family owned. They care tremendously about their partners and people. Everybody is eligible for a bonus. So many things that you go, that's the right way to do it. Now, in a lot of companies, the nation being what it is, turnover is very high in senior management teams. And the bond between, that person who has been working for 15 to 20 years is deteriorating, right? On both ends, and there isn't that genuine concern for one another, that you have to have if you're going to have, I'll call it success transitioning, with technology. You would rather grow your e-grocery business first, right? And get all those jobs in place before self-checkout becomes, an eliminator of jobs, right? And then at the same time, there are ways to do self-checkout, with a mobile device that, every associate in the store can become more of a concierge. Because part of the thing that is always, been woefully done, right, is service inside a grocery store, right? I mean, you can't find anybody. They don't know where things are. But, those same cashiers could be in the aisles. I don't, it may be a nasty word, but upselling, telling you, what is best, in the produce department today. And with the technology, while you're in the store, you can even, ask them, what are the best things, that came in today fresh, right? So there are plenty of opportunities. Most of it is you have to have a passion for people. Technology is just that. It's a tool, right?
Well, and what I'm looking for is for the reality, the awareness that as we move through these transitions, I mean, another one's coming up is, we have self-driving trucks. I mean, that's a huge number of people who have now been displaced. And it's not their individual responsibility alone to go out and retrain. It's also at some level, it's a social responsibility to provide those opportunities for retraining and for finding good or better jobs than they had before. And I think keeping that conversation going at the highest levels, just keeping that on the checklist. How are we dealing with this? What is our response? Rather than eliminating and saying, all we have to do is provide a good return to our investors and we're doing fine. That's not enough. That is not enough.
Yeah, I agree. And the good thing is the strength of our nation and many others is creativity. The human spirit. When you have the right drive and the right balance, right? Common sense. I am not here to take care of you. I am here to work with you, right? Right. That balance, where people are, equals and responsible on both ends, good things happen. And certainly the technology that's available allows us to make, life better. We just have to find that common ground, to do it responsibly, right?
Good. Curt, this has been really interesting to hear what's going on. What would you like to tell people, especially those in Southern California, about what they're going to be seeing in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a stronger, convenience experience, better and better online grocery operations at lower costs. And I think you're going to see, these kind of cross-channel alliances, that potentially bring together, some of the experiences that you like, the immediate gratification of a cup of coffee, while somebody's putting your groceries in your car, versus running to the store and wishing you had time to stop for that coffee. So
super.
I hope better quality of life.
Well, if we do have some smaller chain groceries or mom and top grocers who want to speak with you, how would they get in touch with you?
It's just Curt, Curt, at takeoff.com.
Excellent. This has been wonderful, Curt. Stick around for the, I want to chat with you after we finish here, but this is just one more example of how businesses, not only in California, but around the country, are thriving.
You've been listening to The Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ. To hear more of the programs in this podcast, go to www.willchrist.com.
Okay, and that's how we do it. Fascinating stuff here.
Yeah.
All right.
I got to tell you, I got to go, and Will wants to talk to you, but I just give you one quick thing. Just yesterday, we did a show on we have a big branding company that handles Hoag Hospital, American Airlines, and all these things. And they had a guest on from Toronto who has some fintech company, and they're working with banks to create, it's sort of like a rewards program, only more than that. And the idea, he said, is banks are going to have to move from the idea that all they're doing is taking your money and holding it and reloaning it to creating relationships. If you're part of Bank of America, then hey, on the Bank of America app, it says, hey, we got a special going on in Stop and Go. You're right next to one. Stop and get something. As a bank, they're a partner. Or we're going to get, and to create these ecosystems, whatever they call it, this community of affiliates that all and that's what they're going to monetize. That's why I'm at Bank of America, because I get discounts everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about what you're saying, Paul, is we have had conversation with banks about making them pickup points for groceries, like green for green, right?
Wow.
So, you know,
Really?
because they're lots and they have all the drive-through capability.
Right.
So I think that's interesting, you know.
And he said they have the trusted relationship. Why not?
Yep.
But they got to get out of the mindset that all I'm in is the financial industry. I just want your money so I can loan it to people. Maybe I'm taking the data and everything that I get and selling it to all these other companies, or sharing it with them, or using it to build a community. And every time you go to that Starbucks, you get a discount and I get a little something, and everybody gets a little something. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to watch. Yeah.
All right. Fascinating stuff. I got to run, guys. Stay on. I know Will wants to talk to you about some other things here.
Take care, Paul.
All right.
All right. So thanks